You gotta wait for Doug.
Sorry, I'm over my time, I think.
That's good. I mean, I use it. That's right. I don't like sitting up here, but that's okay. Let's call the public safety. What's that? Not really. Let's call the public safety committee meeting in order. And is there any opening discussions? Yeah, we should go by each resolution at that point.
Okay.
All right, the one resolution is for the appointment of certain positions. Is there any discussion on that?
First of all, you need a sponsor in a second.
For this one here?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sponsors doesn't-
all right, thank you. Would like a sponsor for that resolution, a second for that resolution? Okay, the chair recognizes Barbara, and the chair recognizes Duke as the second. And I will open it up for discussion, right? Yes.
There's an issue with this.
All right.
In reviewing this, if I may, it would appear that both pursuant to the charter and pursuant to the executive law that's referenced there, that these would really be appointments that would be made by the county executive and confirmed by the legislature. So we may have the order a little bit backwards here. I don't know that the executive has done anything in that regard.
I have not formally in writing given this to Cheryl yet, no.
So should we have a motion to table this resolution until you make that motion, Barb?
Yes, I will.
Do I have a second for that?
I'll second it.
You could, I would think, I can't speak for the executive, but if the executive were to make the appointments before the legislature's meeting in 2 weeks, you could still act on the resolution at that point. If in fact they were made, it wouldn't matter so much as if they had been made right now as opposed to if they were before the resolution was actually going to be adopted by the legislature at the meeting on
Okay.
2 weeks from tonight.
So what do we do? We
So you
put
could-
this up at the meeting or no? Should we make
If
a
I could
motion?
make a suggestion, you could forward it to the full board meeting without recommendation to then, I suppose, see if anything occurs between now and then. If nothing does occur, I would suggest tabling it at that point. If you had the appointments, you could amend this to reflect that the appointments had been made and then confirm them.
Okay, so
Much the way that the appointments were confirmed on the January 1st meeting, several of them.
okay, thank you. Anyone make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Then we forward it to the full board.
Yes, and if there's any changes that need to be done by the executive, we can do that at
And
the time.
it's actually good because it gives us a little bit more time. We're still looking for an ex-offender. As you notice, there's a couple blanks on here. As well as we do have an opening for another town court judge, so if there's any folks that you would like to bring forward, please let me know. But we wanted to, more so move forward with the process.
Does anyone second that motion?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All abstained? Okay, then that passes. We're all set to move on. All right. And you have to get used to this because it's a little bit different than what we used to do at the state.
Sure, I know.
It's going to take me a little while. All right, so now I have to put this, someone sponsor this resolution. Okay, and does someone second this resolution, resolution number 2? Thank you, sir. And now it's open for discussion. This is the transfer of funds. It's carryover grant funds from 2013 from Homeland Security on the Sheriff's Department. Is there any discussion on that? Do I have a resolution to put this up to full board?
So moved.
Move it forward.
And all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All abstained? Okay, that's it. The next resolution is, let's see, This is just,
Okay, on the
this is just,
C-Pod one,
what's that?
not the GLC pod.
Okay, that one there I didn't see before, so Sheriff, could you explain that one?
Excuse me?
On the third resolution, CPAD 1 alterations.
Yeah.
All right, first of all, I need a sponsor on that,
Right.
okay? And a second.
I'll second the conversation, discussion.
Thank you very much. It's open for discussion. Sheriff, could you explain that a little bit? Because that one I didn't see before, so
You got me off guard because I didn't do this.
caught me off guard too.
The treasurer to take care of this for me.
Okay,
What we're doing right now is we're trying to expand the size of the jail to house more inmates in the same footprint that we have. And last year I came to the Board of Supervisors and I had asked them for an amount of money to do alterations in a multi-purpose room to increase our housing. The project didn't get started till late in the year. The county DPW doing it, and they weren't able to get to it till late because it's kind of a major project. It's not a simple project. And they started working on it, and the year came to a close, and we couldn't spend any more money, and so now we're carrying the money over from last year into 2013 so we can finish the project up. This is the money that's left over from the original amount of money the Board of Supervisors gave. Okay.
is there any more discussion? Go ahead.
I understand what the sheriff's saying, it's the money left over, but Sean, this is actually coming from this year's contingent.
Correct.
We put it back in.
Just to give you an idea, what happens when a line is not expended in the previous year, those funds would actually lapse to fund balance at the end of the year. So what these were unexpended balances at the end of 2013. So in order to bring this forward, we have two avenues to fund it in 14. You can either use contingency or you can appropriate fund balance.
Is there any other discussion? Okay.
Mike, I'm wondering, the renovations they're not minimizing the size of the cells, so you're just taking away from the common area?
We have in our pods, if you get a chance, if you come up and take a look, we have 4 pods, 3 big ones and 1 little one. In those pods, when we built the place, we put these multi-purpose rooms. And back then, we were told we were able to house inmates in there the way they were. And of course, the state has changed their mind over the years. And so we had to do alterations in those little multi-purpose rooms to make it so we can house prisoners in there on an everyday basis. So we're not taking any cell space away from anybody. In fact, that room, the commission comes in and they say how many people we can put in there based on the size of that room.
So essentially, you're just converting existing holding space into a...
Well, actually, it's a dead area proof. We don't use it on a normal, everyday basis because of some of the regulations that changed by the state. Some of the issues we found with the room after we were there, and now with these alterations, we'll be able to use it every day.
Will they be able to generate any revenue for...
That's one of the hopes.
Martin? Oh, wait, hold on. Duke was- I'm sorry, John?
No, that's fine. How many additional inmates is this going to provide for?
The state approved 6 more inmates that one. And if, to go back to your question out, if we were to house 6 more in there, depending on whether they're state or federal, and I'll give you the better picture, the federals, that's about $250,000 a year that room can generate. And as some of you might know, Hartman County Jail is closed, or not totally closed, but shut down pretty much. They have a small population in the jail. We're housing on an average of 10, 15 of their prisoners here all the time, so maybe we'll be able to increase even theirs.
Now, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand how the genesis of the project and that it was started under the last budget. But if it wasn't finished, why wasn't the money requested in this year's budget as opposed to making the case that the money that was allocated last year was not expended and therefore it was like allocated to you, but really it's not, and that's why you need this change right now. So And just as a matter of procedure, why wasn't that requested as part of the budget?
I didn't know how much money would be left over to begin with. The project started in December. And as DPW was spending the money, they were sending me the bills.
I see.
So I didn't know how much money would be left over.
Okay.
And of course, we ran out of time in December.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right?
Mr. Chairman, just to kind of piggyback on legislator Chessie's, why are we taking it out of the contingent fund and not the fund balance?
Just like I said, it's really a legislative decision. Historically, the contingency is for unexpected expenses that come up in the following year. Usually, historically in the past, when these things come up, they use the contingency first before they start tapping into the fund balance. But if the board felt that they would rather, because it's lapsed the fund balance, if they'd rather appropriate fund balance, that's acceptable to them. But as in the past, there's been a practice of the past that you use a contingency before you start tapping into the fund balance.
Thanks, John.
Okay, do we have a motion to move this forward to full board?
Yep. So moved.
Seconded? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, abstained? We move on. Thank you. The court system, we had had some discussions about this several times and about them having problems at some of the courts. Oh, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting that. Please, don't have a sponsor for this to bring it on the floor.
Yep.
Barb, okay, second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Ray. Martin.
Right.
Open for discussion.
You want a second?
I think Martin did. but-
He's not
He's not on the committee.
Okay, do.
Okay.
Okay. Open for discussion now. I'll get used to it after a while. I'm sorry, guys. And girls.
I screwed you.
What's that? No, you didn't. It's just that I'm not used to doing it here. I've got to get out of old habits, all right? So shall we open it for discussion? Do I call you chairman in this
You call me anything you want, as everybody else does at some point or another.
Okay, all right.
My question is, just so I'm not confused, and I'm for this. I want to give you as an example, in the town of Minden, right now, I no longer do, she does. She's the supervisor. But we've always budgeted, at one time it was 20,000, it's down to 10 now, a year to have the Fort Plain Police Department come to our courtroom. If somebody wanted to not have that in their budget anymore, could that be satisfied through this? I'll explain it maybe better.
How do you think? You want me to elaborate?
Yeah, if you don't
You
mind.
have the floor, sure.
Thank you. Yes, that could happen. That's up to the town, okay? Who they want to pay to come there. Whether they want the village or the county. I'll explain the whole issue here as quickly and as simply as I can. Over the last couple of years, prior to the last couple of years, whenever a town needed help with a court issue because they had maybe a high-profile case that night, or they have a couple of people that are coming in that they know constantly are fighting, they would contact us, ask us to have a deputy stop by, and just stay there until the case was cleared up and the people left. And we would do it, because it wasn't that often. The last couple of years, though, there's been a lot of high concern about issues in courtrooms. People on TV, you see people bringing guns in small courtrooms and shooting up the courtrooms and threatening lawyers and, on and on. And recently, as somebody had spoke earlier, Palatine had an issue where a person ran out of the court, the judge was chasing him.
Is that actually true, or is that just kind of a true
He
story?
he chased him out to the street, and he realized, what am I doing? And he stopped.
Okay.
So, in the last couple of years, the judges, of course, they have their own association, they talk. One judge finds out that one town is contracting with us to do this on a constant basis every month. So the other court wants it. So in the last 2 years, it's mushroomed. We have 6 of the 10 towns now asking us to do this type of duty. And over the last 2 years, it's been eating into the money that's left for me to do road patrol. My money has been cut and cut and cut, and I've been taking the money out of my road patrol money to pay for the court security. Well, at the end of last year, I had to tell the courts that for the month of December, I cannot do nothing. I have no money left to do court security. And I told them I have to wait till this year to see if the legislative body would want to fund that project, that duty that we can do. And so that's where we are tonight. I averaged about 6,000 or more last year for court security in the town courts. It might be more this year, I don't know, because maybe you can get the last 4 towns to jump on board and say they want to. But I figure $10,000 is a safe figure of money to put aside. I've talked to the treasurer about where this money can go for now, and we figured in the overtime line. I have a system of tracking the money as it's being spent, so I know, how much of that 10,000 has been spent at any time we want to know. And this is not money that the county will be putting out and losing. This will be $10,000 of revolving money. You put $10,000 in the budget, I spent $10,000, you're going to get at least $10,000 back, at the very least.
Are they paying you now? Are there
Yes,
courts that
they're
are
paying
paying you?
Yes, they're paying out. I'm glad you brought that up, legislator. And that was one of the problems in the last couple of years. I would pay out of my road patrol budget for these deputies to be in court. The towns would pay back the county, they'd send a check, it would go right to the treasurer into my revenues, and I wouldn't get the money back for road patrol. It would go back into the general fund. So I was shortchanging myself for road patrol.
Legislator?
So just to clarify, this money it's just to provide for cash flow. That this $10,000 is reimbursed by the towns in the end, yes?
Correct.
So there's actually no net impact to the county budget?
There shouldn't be.
Okay.
I've adjusted the rates this year to flat rates instead of we were calculating everybody's salary. It was driving us crazy. So now we went to a flat rate, and it's above the average cost factor. We went a little bit above. So, we use patrol car equipment, and so we're factoring that in now.
Legislator?
I have a question. If there's no net effect, and this is more for Sean, if there's no net effect to the county budget, shouldn't the resolution also be proposing increasing our expected revenues?
The sheriff, sorry, the revenue was included in the 14 budget. The revenue as part of your sheriff's fees in the 14 budget,
Yes.
correct? It was part of the 14 budget, okay? Adopted budget. Okay, he's looking for the, and like he explained before, he was using his road patrol funding to cover this work. He's looking for the additional funding to be able to cover the extras. To
Understand?
be able to pay an additional person to be a security person.
But it will,
The
it will
revenue
be
was adopted
reimbursed.
in, as part of the adopted 14 budget, but the expense was not put in.
So you were using budgeted road patrol expense to...
Correct.
Yeah, I got it. This will actually give me more flexibility to keep like $10,000 worth of road patrol out there instead of it sitting in court. Then you're going to get the money back that's being.
I'm sorry. What's that, Duke?
Is there some reason you wouldn't segregate a separate line item to receive this money?
Well, it's a lot easier if I just leave it in the overtime and I keep a running budget, a running tally of it. We get bills from the courts, and I'll keep a tally on sheet, on paper. We have a book that we keep, a budget book that's real time besides the computer, and we'll be able to keep a tally of how much is being spent. It's just an easier way to do it right now. It's something that I talked to the treasurer about and Matt, and we'll think about it over the years, see if there's another way of doing it, but right now, it's the most easiest way.
Well, but also, it's a relatively small amount, but it distorts what your overtime is, your overtime budget. It's not really overtime.
By keeping the track of it, I can tell you what money was spent on the court, what money was spent on the road.
No, I understand that part, but it's going to still be a number in the budget.
I'd like to separate it, believe me, but right now I can't think of an easier way to do it. So, when a deputy works it, they either get paid out of a part-time line, or they get paid out of the regular line item. And if it's overtime, they get taken out by overtime. That's how it works. So I put this money in a separate line, then how do I do that? Easy. How do I deduct that? And show that it didn't come out of that person's salary, regular salary, or it didn't come out of my regular road patrol overtime. So right now, I'm just gonna keep a running tally in my book, my budget book, and I need to know how much to spend on course, I can tell you.
Maybe Duke, if we work with it for the year, there may be some easier way down the road to do it, but it's just starting out. So.
Well, no, I would, if I were in this position, I would want that delineated, because, like I said, it distorts the overtime budget.
Yeah.
And this number, if it's likely to grow, will have an even greater impact.
It could grow. I'm not positive right now.
I mean, just as a for instance, I don't know what your overtime budget looked like last year, but this year it's going to look like it's $10,000 more.
Maybe a lot more at the end of the year. I don't know if you're familiar, I put an X amount of dollars in, and it gets cut. And it's been cut a lot over the last 2 years. And in the last 2 years, the first time in all the years I've been in the sheriff's office, as a sheriff, that I've had to come back to the county and say, you got to give me more money, you're cutting me too much. And, we had the 2 disasters back to back last year. And then we had a little flood before planning. So really, really hurt us.
Any more discussion?
If I could, what is the rate?
For part-time, it's 25 an hour. For full-time, it's 45.
I have an unrelated question to the resolution, if you don't mind my asking. As I asked Paul Claiborne, are you able to actually figure out what the cost of all those natural disasters were to your department?
Well, we sit after the disaster's over, and if we want to try to claim any money, recovery money, yes, we sat there, when I'm the sheriff, would sit there, I signed in the past. To punish them. We would gather up all the bills that the feds would approve, and we would submit them to the feds for how much money we wanted back. I think the flood and Conrail, yes, actually, it went up. I think we got a little over $13,000 back.
Did you get everything that you requested?
I don't believe so. They specify what they'll pay for, and we had to show documentation that we did spend that. I couldn't get everything over the sun.
Right.
Pretty detailed. Thank you.
I guess legislative time, I think they have to decide whether or not it's more expensive using the sheriff's department or using the 2 or 3 local people.
Valentine doesn't know.
No, Palatine doesn't, but they could have a contract maybe with Warline or something. I don't know if they did or not.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
They don't have anybody right now, Valentine.
I am chief, they do too.
Head chief. Head chief.
Chief, I am chief.
They have spoke to me about using their place as a substation just in case for like current courts and regular substation like we have in Amsterdam.
Do I have a motion to move this forward from anybody? You move everything forward. Do I have that seconded?
I'll second.
Roy seconded, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? One more, and then you guys are through with me, so. Now, the 4th resolution here, and I'd like to have a,
Yep.
okay, and a second. Let's move it forward. Okay, go ahead. Discussion? This one's pretty cut and dry, it looks like. So.
Move it.
Sheriff, you don't want to explain that because that's one I didn't see also, so. Very cut and dry, and that's it.
Contract with money there.
Any discussion on this?
You have your DVR. You ever looked at a new DVR for the jail? That's not here.
You want to tell me what?
Pay from home, man.
Do I have a motion to move this? Oh, wait, hold on.
No, we're just gonna.
We have to vote on it.
Yep,
We
move
didn't
it.
vote on this yet, so.
I see move it.
Motion to move it to full board.
Yep.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? And let's see, any other things to discuss tonight?
Sheriff, if I could,
Sure.
have you ever actually approached, we have three, I know it's not possible in the city of Amsterdam, but Executive and I have talked quite a bit over the last week and have heard, as we did at the State of the State, about consolidation. Has there ever been an approach towards the three up-county local police departments in regards to, what do you call it, substations like, where they may be able to use our policing agency only rather than, well, the village.
Consolidating, you talking about?
Yeah, the village of Kansas area, village of Fort Plain, and the, I can't give you exact numbers, but I think they're in the $350,000 range a year to run those departments. And I don't know if it was a conversation with you or maybe Under Sheriff Smith before about what it would cost to have a substation there, and that what you could contract with the village to do it all as an effort to consolidate. Is that something that we could look at either as Sheriff's Department, county executive, or legislative body? Because today it's all about consolidation, and at least investigate it.
Well, I can't make the decision of how you would go about, whether it's the legislative or the county exec, but as a sheriff, you know, I at one time in 1994, the village of St. Harry had approached us, the mayor, and we had looked into it then, and there was opposition then. So basically, we backed off from it, from approaching anybody. If they're interested, we will talk to them, and if there's, you know, the village and the PDs, we will talk to them, and then, you know, we would bring it to the legislators. Nobody's expressed any interest right now. I guess that would be up to the legislators if they're interested in talking to the mayors. You know, of course, if you do assume them, you know, I'd have to do my own type of study to see what it would entail for my office to handle those areas. And of course, yes, there'd probably be a substation up there for our people to work out of, so they wouldn't have to come down here. They would go to work there and work out of that area. They would report to work to a substation up there. It would make sense coming all the way down here and going there. And of course, you'd have to figure out what the cost factor is going to be for the sheriff's office, because you're going to have to hire more people. And I'm not talking about the current type of level of protection that they have now with somebody in that village 24/7. It might be where we would have more cars up in the west end of the county, and they would patrol through the village more often and handle calls. Just like we do on Fultonville, you know, Aikman, those areas.
I realize it would be a hot topic item, but you know what, we're in a day and age now, I think, and we're all hearing it, that we have to start talking about those issues, and you know, I just wanted to know if you're receptive to trying to help us put those numbers together if it's requested by the executive.
Well, if the county, if that's the direction the county wants to move, and yes, I talk to some work, which is, and this is a project that wouldn't be done in a year. It would probably take a couple of years to get done.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussions? I would just like to say one thing. I really would like to commend our new emergency management man, Jeff. He did a terrific job over this recent flood. I never got so much correspondence back and forth what actually was going on with the flood conditions. He did a great job for his first test, and I think we made a great appointment there. And also, Sheriff, I guess some of the committee members wanted to make a tour of the jail, so maybe you could set something up with them when you have time.
Well, if you want to coordinate it, contact me.
I'll coordinate it and I'll get in touch with you.
And they have to go inside a cell.
They have to go
It
inside,
is an
so.
experience.
And then the sheriff has to promise not to lock us up.
There's no
I
guarantee.
can't guarantee them lock for it.
You notice he has handcuffs on his necktie?
Yes, that's kind of scary, right? Anything else? And I make a motion to adjourn, or someone make the motion to adjourn? Barb, okay, second?
Second.
Roy, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. It's totally different than what we used to do in the city. Totally different.
But you did good.
No,
You did good. Well,